It is commonly mistaken by players that thieves don't contribute much to a team that can't be done better by other classes, and this is due to many thief players simply not understanding the role of their class for their team and how to correctly implement this into their PvP matches. My name is Noody, and in this video I'll be covering multiple responsibilities of a thief in PvP, and will try my best to explain how these plays benefit your team in general in hopes to help fellow thief players who are trying to improve their gameplay. The current meta builds for thief are core, sword dagger, and dagger pistol daredevil, but this isn't so much about the builds, rather what all of them can do for your team. Tip number 5. The first tip I've got for thieves in PvP, and by far the most important when it comes to their role as a player in their team, is decapping points. Decapping means to neutralize enemy capture points and pretty much to ensure that they've got no incoming points that contribute to their team score. The reason thieves are so good at decapping and why this is their main priority is because of their high mobility that you don't see in many classes. If you're running dagger pistol daredevil, it is also useful because of the stealth that you have, so often you can juke your enemies and get a sneaky decap behind them. The second reason why decapping is so important is because thieves aren't exactly the best team fight class. They're not great at team fights. They've got single target damage, and in this current meta there's many tanky builds with lots of healing, so oftentimes you'll be in a fight way too long if you're trying to do a team fight just because there's too much sustain. Doing too much team fighting is definitely the top mistake that thieves make in PvP, which causes their teams to lose, because if the enemy team has a double cap on you and you're at a team fight barely contributing anything when they're getting double the points your team is getting, then you're pretty much being very inefficient. Now you're probably thinking, what is the benefit of decapping if your team is outnumbered in team fights? This is where the beauty of thief comes in. Because you're decapping and not full capping, you're going to be pulling away enemy players from that team fight who are actually going to make a large difference and possibly be the difference between your team winning and losing that fight, and you're instantly leaving that point because you've pulled an enemy player there. You can move on and then you can plus that enemy fight, or you can even just continue decapping and pulling more players off of that team fight. So it's very advantageous for your team and puts them at a higher chance of winning that team fight. To summarize this point, it's pretty much all about awareness. Keep an eye on your minimap, look where your team is, keep account of who is on respawn and what you can and can't pull off in terms of decaps, and always prioritize decaps over kills. Tip number 4. Closely following decapping in terms of priority for a thief is a term called +1ing. What it means to +1 is to assist your team in, for example, a one-on-one at a capture point. If you've already decapped everything and you've got nothing else you can do, the best option is to carefully pick a target to assist your team in taking that person down. So if your warrior is in a one-on-one with a mesmer at far point and you've got nothing else to decap, you plussing that warrior and assisting him in taking down that mesmer is going to result in that capture point being taken by your team. Obviously, prioritizing your targets is a big factor in making sure you're successful with +1ing. For example, if there's a tanky one-on-one going on, which you're just going to be wasting your time there because both specs are very tanky and neither one of them are going to die, you're obviously not going to take that +1 over, for example, 2v2 on the other side of the map where there's a squishy target like for example, an opposing thief, which you can take down. Getting successful +1s can start snowballs for your team, so they're very important in getting the ball rolling and getting that win for your team. Tip number 3. Now, although I did say thieves aren't the greatest for team fights, there are moments where you're going to have to assist your team with single target damage, whether it be at the start of a match when somebody else wants to go home, or mid-game when there's a crucial team fight going on which your team absolutely has to win. Picking low targets and just giving your team respawn advantages is going to be huge. As always, do this when there are no higher priorities such as decapping or any +1s. You just want to give your team that quick burst in mid to turn the team fights in their favor and give them that respawn advantage. Tip number 2. My 4th tip is not to take outnumbered fights. This is pretty self-explanatory. You don't even want to be taking 1v1s most of the time if they're not necessary. There's almost always something better you could be doing than taking a 1v1, let alone an outnumbered fight. Thief is just too squishy. It can't stay on point long. Even in 1v1s, you struggle to hold a node by yourself. So like I said, a lot of people try to 1v1. They try to just take fights. It's not the thief's role in PvP. Thief's role is to keep the enemies decap and assist teammates in +1s. You never want to take 1v1s, let alone outnumbered fights. That's almost always going to get you killed, or at least waste your time and your cooldowns when you could be doing something much more effective. The only times you want to be forcing yourself into outnumbered fights is if the game depends on it, and holding that node with your life means more than obviously dying. Tip number 1. My final tip for this video is don't try to regularly full cap or hold points. Like I said in the previous step, thieves aren't good at holding nodes. The reason you want to go for the decap rather than the full cap is because, like I mentioned earlier, the main goal in that is 1, to stop them from gaining any more points, and 2, to pull somebody over to actually dedicate themselves to recapturing that node from the enemy team, because then it puts your team at a man advantage around the map. And if you were to stay on that node, you're not going to be able to hold it anyway. So instead of staying on that node, you're moving around the map and doing more productive things. There are rare occasions where you do want to hold nodes, like I said earlier, in game depending situations. If it's going to lose you the game, obviously you want to get full caps. There are also other moments where, for example, if your team is on respawn, which you'll see in this clip right here, if your team is on respawn and you're not going to be able to do anything anywhere else across the map and you can get a full cap for free, then you might as well, because you're not going to be able to go anywhere else. So just like in this clip, that's about the only times you want to do it. Now, as always, I've got 3 bonus tips. My first bonus tip is to share Basilisk Venom before the game starts, about a second or 2 before you leave the gates. This is going to share to your whole team, and you're going to have a nice CC at the start of your team fight. My second bonus tip is to counter enemy thieves. Any other good thief is going to be doing the same things you are. They're going to be decapping and putting your team at huge disadvantages. So if they're there at that mid fight at the start of the game, you want to counter them to stop them from ganking your teammate. And my third bonus tip is stealthing your team at the start. Just like in these couple clips here, giving your team that, that sneak attack right off the bat is going to put them at a huge advantage to winning that team fight, so you can move on to plus or decap other points. That is going to be it for this video. I hope this does help some beginner or less experienced thieves. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be doing these kind of videos for different classes as well. Let me know what you'd like to see next. Thank you for all the support as always. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers, which is awesome. So keep showing your support and the videos will keep coming. See you guys next time.